Okay, I wanted to share a quick thing with you. There was a story I didn't ever get to, and I actually sent Matt, the wonderful producer, a picture. But there was another Somalian refugee, another Muslim woman who is a Canadian citizen. She came to Canada actually like 30 years ago, 20 or 30 years ago. She was a journalist. Her name is Hodan Nalaya. I'm going to go with Nalaya, Hodan Nalaya. This is she. This is a picture of a very pretty woman. She's been a journalist in Canada for years, and she did a piece recently talking about how she was going to go back to Somalia because she didn't like the way Somalia was characterized in the news, in the media, and that actually, you know, she kept her Muslim faith. She's in Canada. She's become a journalist. She writes stuff. She tweets a lot. So she wanted to basically make the point that Somalia is a lovely, wonderful, welcoming country, full of beautiful people, full of religious diversity, full of diversity of people of backgrounds. It's loving, it's accepting. In fact, I didn't send Matt these pictures, but in one of the pieces I read about her, so her point is she went to Somalia to make the journey, to make the statement, take pictures, time to a photojournalist trip, to point out how wonderful and great and special and beautiful Somalia is. She took some beautiful pictures of children and of, you know, markets and natural wonders and dogs and not dogs, I'm sorry, but, you know, animals. Anyway, the point of it is, and people who are working fishing in their fishing boats. So she does this whole thing to go over to Somalia to tell the West, look how wonderful Somalia is. It's fine here. And sadly, and truly tragically, she was killed by terrorists, by jihadists, by Islamic terrorists. And she's even Muslim, as you could see. And I want to tell this story just to say it is extremely dangerous in our Western culture to let people who want to diminish the danger of Islamic majority countries, the danger of jihadist mindset, the danger that there truly are in this world millions and millions of people who follow Islam, follow the teachings of the Quran, which compel devout Muslims to commit jihad. The Quran says you have to do that. The Prophet Muhammad says you have to do that. Mullahs and imams and religious teachers and madrasas all over this planet teach that every day. Teach that to people who grow up in Islam. And in Somalia, like Ayaan Hirsi Ali was trying to describe in her brilliant piece, was trying to say the same thing. It is not every Muslim. It is not every Muslim. There are Muslims who do not do this. But the idea that you take the freedom of the Western culture and the belief in the goodness of people and look how great Western culture is, and so you want to delude yourself into thinking Somalia is probably fine now. She'd been in Canada, and I apologize, I can't remember if it was 20, 30 years. She'd been there a long time. She wanted to prove to the West that Somalia was perfectly safe, just lovely, everything would be fine, and she was killed by terrorists on her trip in Somalia. And I don't say it to taunt her. I'm terribly sorry for her loss of life. She apparently was beloved and well-liked and had a lot of friends in Canada. But the idea that in Western culture, in America, in Canada, we live our lives so assuming that we can live in safety, that we're not living around people who want to kill us for no reason. And we have in America a growing population, Ilhan Omar is a good example, that tries to delude America about the danger of Islam, tries to hide from America about the danger of Islam, tries to pretend, back to this little piece that Ilhan Omar managed to get published in the New York Times, she acted like it was impossible to even understand why in the world would President Trump have put out an executive order, a series of executive orders, trying to, and he didn't ban people from certain countries. He said, if they're from these countries that have an extreme jihadist problem, we need to do more serious vetting so we can figure out, are the people coming here do they mean us harm? It's the most logical thing on the planet. But in Ilhan Omar's effort to delude America, to hide from America the danger of Islamic jihad, she wrote about in this piece that she got published in the New York Times, the idea that it's just perplexingly bizarre. Why in the world would anybody put out an executive order saying be careful about people coming to America from these countries that are riddled with jihadist terrorists? She acts like she can't understand why, and that the only possible reason, she posits, the only possible reason must be just visceral, irrational hatred of people because of the way they look, or people because of their faith. Like, she tries to diminish the importance of protecting America and say, well, the only thing that really is going on here is that Trump would have written those executive orders is because he wants to urge us to discriminate against people based on their race, ethnicity, national origin, or religion. It's all about skin color, don't you know? It's all about hatred and bigotry. It's about common sense. And Trump was right when he did the orders and finally got them confirmed at the Supreme Court after the federal district and appellate courts tried to strike them down. But the point, looping back to our Canadian journalist, there is an effort. Obviously, this Canadian journalist did not go to Somalia to be killed. She may actually have started to, believe her own story that everything is fine in Somalia and Islam is not a problem in Somalia and everything will be fine. And I'm sorry she lost her life. But it is a wake-up call to all of us to recognize when Ilhan Omar cannot acknowledge the connection between jihad and violence and the Islamic faith. When she can't acknowledge it, she is committing not just a farce, but it's a danger to America. It's a threat to America. It is the unwillingness to be honest about that problem in the world. And she's trying to make people in America afraid to speak up because she and her freshman four and many others in the left-wing media and Democrat media mob will criticize anyone who says anything negative about Islam. But we have to be willing and strong enough to speak up for truth, as frankly does the House Ethics Committee have to be strong enough to speak up and to say, you know what, we're going to look into this seriously. Ilhan Omar cannot defend against marriage fraud, immigration fraud, and tax fraud by saying Islamophobic. She can't. Accusing people who investigate you of Islamophobia cannot be the answer that the Democrats accept. I really hope they can get around to being willing to do a very serious, earnest investigation. We shall see.